G'day everyone, I'm the Thorough Tank, and this is a quick reference guide to the Eye of Azshara dungeon on Mythic Keystone difficulty. Let's get straight into it. This first pull, head down the left hand side of the room, grab these two mobs and then the other two behind the tent further up ahead. When you're fighting this pack, you'll generally want to coordinate your interrupts to prevent all of the spells being cast, as they're all pretty dangerous, but the most dangerous by far is Arc Lightning, which will do a huge amount of damage to everyone in the group within range. Make sure that cast gets interrupted at all costs. After that pack bites the dust, head straight up through this part here and grab the big fella on the left, drag him over to the two Naga standing in front of the tent on the right. This is another pull where you pretty much want to stop them casting at all, but if you have to prioritise, the most dangerous spells in order are the Arc Lightning again, the Thundering Stomp, which is cast by the big Naga, and the Rejuvenating Water, which is cast by the Oracle. That's just a heal. This boss isn't too challenging for you, but there are a couple of cool tricks you can do to make life a little bit easier for your group. When he summons his reinforcements, tank the melee one on top of the boss, but leave the caster one a little bit separated. You need one ad alive to block the impaling spear, and the melee ad's going to die to cleave either way, so you might as well intentionally kill him. Right before he throws the spear, he'll do his Crushing Wave ability. On high keys with the Tyrannical affix, this ability will actually hurt you as the tank quite a bit, so make sure you use a reasonably strong defensive cooldown so that you don't get hit too hard. Take a quick look at where the rest of my group is in this picture. I'm pointing the boss away from them for two reasons. First, I don't want to hit them with the Crashing Wave when it goes off. Secondly, when the Crashing Wave does happen, it'll put the caster between them and the boss, which makes it much easier for them to put the caster in a good position to intercept the impaling spear. The less distance they have to move, the better, because it means more time spent damaging the boss. Just rinse and repeat that cycle a few times until the boss falls over. These large Naga casters have three abilities: interrupt the Arcane Rebound, move out of the Aqua Spout, and have your healer dispel the Polymorph. Only use interrupts on Arcane Rebound. The other two can be dealt with so easily that it's not worth risking an Arcane Rebound cast getting through, as it does a lot of damage. Coming up past the broken ship, I like to grab these pack of slimes here, then move forward and grab the other two further up ahead. You can't do this on every affix combo week, but when you can, it does save you a lot of time. They're pretty quick to kill, and they give you a lot of percentage that lets you skip some more dangerous enemies later on. Deal with the second Naga caster nearby the same way you did the first one. Then after that, I like to do Serpentrix next. Bloodlust is really helpful in this dungeon for both the first boss and the quote-unquote second boss. Killing Serpentrix first gives you enough time between those two to be able to use Bloodlust for both of them, so it's just a good use of time to make sure you have a good chance. I also like to clear out a lot of the crabs around Serpentrix. They give a lot of percentage in such large numbers, and it doesn't take any longer to kill 30 of them than it does to kill one pack, so you might as well finish them off, and it gives you enough of a percentage buffer to again be able to skip some more of the more dangerous mobs later on. Another side benefit of doing Serpentrix first, although it's not the primary reason, is that you don't have to deal with any winds during the fight, and you also don't have to deal with any seagulls while you're clearing Serpentrix trash, since they're still flying up in the air until the Naga boss is dead. Serpentrix is probably the easiest boss in this dungeon, and for tanks, even more so. All you really need to do is dodge the poison that he throws out, use movement abilities on the Submerge to get to the new location of the green head quickly, and on the second Submerge he'll start casting a Rampage as soon as he emerges. Just make sure you get over there as quick as possible to interrupt it. If you feel like being fancy, any ranged stuns or silences that your tank class has can be used to help with the other heads. They are vulnerable to both stuns and general silences, but it's not necessary, and you won't have a problem regardless as long as your DPS are on top of things. Heading back to Lady Hatecoil, this boss operates on a simple tick-tock cycle. Tank her near the sand for static Nova, so your melee DPS can keep on hitting her when this ability is happening. Tank her in the water for focus lightning to spare sand from being destroyed, and in between these two abilities, collect the ads after each Beckon Storm. point your own curse away from people when it's about to go off, particularly during a static nova, because you don't want to knock someone off a pile of sand at the last minute. And if you can, and you can do it safely, use your curse to clear out the slimes. However, I stress, only do that if you can do it safely. Much better for the slimes to stay alive for a little while than to knock someone around. This boss is a tricky one for your group, particularly on high tyrannical keys, as they're going to need to use defensive abilities for every cast of lightning. But as a tank, as long as you make sure to keep the slimes on you and don't mess up the mechanics yourself, there's not really much more for you to worry about. Head back over through Serpentrix's area and head towards the cave. As you're coming towards the cave, you want to keep a careful eye out for this patrol of murlocs. As with the crabs, not every affix week will let you pull these together with other mobs, and so it's really important that you don't accidentally get surprised by them coming up behind you. However, if you can, kill everything together. It saves a lot of time as always. Coming out of the cave, run straight through here, skipping the giant on the left. Now is a good time to check your completion percentage for enemy kills on the right hand side of the screen. Going into the next boss, you want to be at 92.24% or more. The last 4 Naga casters near the final boss give 1.94% each for a total of 7.76. I don't have quite enough, which is why I'm killing this pack of murlocs before we move on. Coming up next through here, we're going to do a rather fancy trick that involves you nobly sacrificing yourself for the good of your group and for your timer. These 2 giants standing in front of the boss can be nearly impossible to kill on some weeks on very high keys, and even if you can kill them, they just take a really long time. What you want to do is grab the pack of the giants, pull them over towards the left hand side. As you're doing that, your group runs through the boss's entrance, making sure not to aggro the giants. You just let yourself be killed after the giants have moved out of the way, and then your healer can cast Mass Resurrection to pull you through. It has a 100-yard range, so they don't have to get very close. This giant boss is a long fight, and positioning is very important. The most dangerous tank ability is Ground Slam, which you need to move out of quickly. On lower keys it doesn't do that much damage, but on high keys, and especially on high tyrannical keys, it can nearly one-shot you at times. Next ability is Quake. It puts a set of cracks on the ground which spew sand for a few seconds, then deal damage. Just move out of the sand clouds. The important thing to note here is that the cracks don't do anything when there's no sand cloud on them. This means there's an interesting way of dealing with them to make your positioning a little bit easier. Throughout the fight, simply stand on the cracks and wait for the next Quake to be cast. Once the sand appears, move off it, wait for the damage to be dealt, and then move back onto the cracks. This has the effect of stacking all of the cracks on top of each other, which means you end up with a lot more spare space to move around for the rest of your group. This trick does work for your group members as well, but the important thing they have to worry about is that the cracks do a very small amount of damage when they first spawn. It's not noticeable at all to a tank, even when there's lots of them stacked on top of each other, but for your group, if they put too many on top, they will find that the initial damage from the cracks spawning will be too much. The only other thing you need to worry about as the tank is his frenzy when he reaches 30% health. He doesn't get any more damage bonus to his abilities, but his melee attacks will hit harder and come faster. These last 4 mobs don't require any special attention from you. Just make sure you keep their lightning blast interrupted, as it does a hell of a lot of damage, particularly on fortified affix weeks. Their other mechanics are often worth thinking about, but don't worry too much. There's a polymorph one will drop an arcane bomb, and probably the only one that you really need to think about is the one that puts a snare on everyone in the group. A priest can master spell, or you can just wait it out. It doesn't affect the tank very much. As the tank, your movement in this fight is key to determining whether your group has enough room to operate or not. Your group will follow your lead. You need to rotate around the room with every massive deluge cast. This will keep you ahead of most of the tornadoes that spawn, which will mean your group has enough room to operate in order to do what they need to do. For crushing depths, stand with the other members of your group to help absorb the damage. Apart from that, you'll be dodging the same things that everyone else dodges, including the waves, the tornadoes, and the lightning strikes. Throughout the fight, you can identify when the tornadoes are about to spawn by looking for the clouds forming on the ground. After a few moments, they'll turn into a tornado. If you stand too close to this boss, you can easily fall into the pit, which is a pain in the ass, and if you stand too far away, your melee can get hit. To avoid this, stand in the highlighted area around where the boss is positioned. At 10%, the fight starts getting a bit more hectic, which is when the waves start to spawn. Don't panic, just keep calm and keep dodging everything as you have been up until this point, and the boss will fall over. Thanks for watching a reference guide from the Thorough Tank for the Eye of Azshara dungeon. If you have any feedback or if you'd like to see more in different videos, please leave a comment below, and I'll see you all next time.